Butter Battle book. What do you say? It was one of his later books that he wrote. It is cute and fun and funny, but it also has a lot of political and social meaning. Can one of you do me a favor and grab the Butter Battle book? It's right up there. Can you grab that? You got it. Perfect. Thank you. Back after World War II, when the U.S. dropped 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and ended the war, Russia was an ally of the U.S. And as soon as that happened, Russia became an enemy of the U.S. And both countries had many nuclear warheads and could destroy each other hundreds of times over. And so the reason they didn't was something called mutual assured destruction. So basically it was like, we're not going to shoot a rocket over there because you're going to shoot a rocket over here and we're going to destroy the world, which is mad, and that's what it was called, mutual assured destruction. But this is basically what the story is about, is like why, what kept the U.S. and Russia from destroying the world, and hopefully it stays that way. But anyway, so I love this book because it has social and political meaning, and also how just ridiculous it is that people don't like other people just because they're different than them. And obviously that's something we struggle with in our country, in our world, with people not liking each other just because they're different. And that's what this book is about. Kind of crazy stuff. The Butter Battle book. On the last day of summer, 10 hours before fall, my grandfather took me out to the wall. For a while, he stood silent. Then finally he said, with a very sad shake of his very old head, "As you know, on this side of the wall we're Ukes. On the far other side of the wall live the Zooks." Then my grandfather said, "It's high time that you knew of the terribly horrible thing that Zooks do. In every Zook house and in every Zook town, every Zook eats his bread with the butter side down. But we Ukes, as you know, when we breakfast or sup, spread our bread," Grandpa said, "with the butter side up. That's the right honest way," Grandpa gritted his teeth. "So you can't trust the Zook who spread bread underneath. Every Zook must be watched. He has kinks in his soul. That's why as a youth, I made watching my goal. Watching Zooks for the Zook watching border patrol." In those days, of course, the wall wasn't so high, and I could look any Zook square in the eye. If he dared to come close, I could give him a twitch with my tough and prickly snitchberry switch. For a while that worked fine, all the Zooks stayed away, and our country was safe. Then one terrible day, a very rude Zook by the name of Van Itch snuck up and slingshotted my snakeberry switch. With my broken off switch, with my head hung in shame, to the chief Ukaroo in great sorrow I came. But our leader just smiled. He said, "Oh, you're not to blame, and those Zooks will be sorry they started this game. We'll dress you up right in a fancier suit. We'll give you a fancier slingshot to shoot." And he ordered the boys in his back room to figure how to build me some sort of triple sling jigger. With my triple sling jigger, I felt much bigger. I marched to the wall with great vim and great vigor, right up to Van Itch with my hand on the trigger. "I'll have no more nonsense," I said with a frown, "from Zooks who eat bread with the butter side down." Van Itch looked quite sickly. He ran off quite quickly. I'm unhappy to say he came back the next day in a spiffy new suit with a big new machine. And he snarled as he said, looking frightfully mean, "You may fling those hard rocks with your triple sling jigger, but I also have my hand on a trigger. My wonderful weapon, the jigger rock snatch 'em. We'll fling 'em right back just as quick as we catch 'em.
We'll have no more nonsense. We'll take no more gup from ukes who eat bread with the butter side up. I have failed, sir, I sobbed as I made my report to the chief ukaroo in the headquarters fort. He just laughed. You've done nothing at all of the sort. Our slingshots have failed. That was old-fashioned stuff. Slingshots, dear boy, are not modern enough. All we need is some newfangled kind of a gun. My boys in the back room have already begun to think up a walloping whiz-zinger one. My bright boys are thinking they're on the right track. They'll think one up quick, and we'll send you right back. They thought up a great one, they certainly did. They thought up a gun called the Kickapoo Kid, which they loaded with powerful Poo-Doo powder, and ants' eggs, and bees' legs, and dried fried clam chowder. And they carefully trained a real smart dog named Daniel to serve as our country's first gun-toting spaniel. Then Daniel the Kickapoo, Spaniel and I marched back toward the wall with our heads held up high. While everyone cheered and their cheers filled the sky. Fight, fight, for the butter side up, do or die. Well, we didn't do. And we didn't quite die, but we sure did get worsted, poor Daniel and I. Van Itch was there too, and he said, the old pig, the boys in my back room have invented this rig called the 8-nozzled elephant-toted boom blitz. It shoots high explosive sour cherry stone pits and will put your dumb Kickapoo Kid on the fritz. Poor Daniel and I were scared out of our wits. Once more by Van Itch I was bested and beat. Once again I limped home from the wall in defeat. I dragged and I sagged and my spirits were low as I thought that they ever could go. When I heard the boom ba and a diddly dee dill, and our butter up band marched up over the hill. The chief ukaroo had sent them to meet me, along with the right side up song girls to greet me. They sang, oh, be faithful, believe in thy butter. And they lifted my spirits right out of the gutter. My boy, smiled the chief ukaroo, we've just voted and made you a general. You've been promoted. Your pretty new uniform is ready, get in it. The big war is coming, you're gonna begin it. And what's more this time, you're certain to win it. My boys in the back room have finally found how. Just wait till you see what they've puttered up now. In their great new machine, you'll fly over that wall and clobber those butter down zooks one and all. Those boys in the back room sure knew how to putter. They made me a thing called the utterly sputter. And I jumped aboard with my heart all aflutter and steered toward the land of the upside down butter. This machine was so modern, so frightfully new, no one knew quite exactly just what it would do. I always loved that line because in college, when learning about the atomic bomb, that was what we learned, that they had no idea what it was going to do really when they dropped that bomb. So it's really right out of history. But it had several faucets that sprinkled blue goo, which somehow would sprinkle the zooks as I flew and gum up that upside down butter they chew. I was racing pell-mell when I heard a voice yell, if you sprinkle us zooks, you'll get sprinkled as well. Van Itch had a sputter, exactly like mine. And he yelled, my blue gooer, it's working just fine. And I'm here to say, if ukes can goo zooks, you'd better forget it, because zooks can goo ukes. I flew right back home, and as you may have guessed, I was downright despondent, disturbed, and depressed. And I saw just as soon as I stepped back on the land, so were all the girls of the Butter Up Band. The chief drum majorette, Miss Yuki Ann Sue, said, that was a pretty sour flight that you flew, and the chief ukaroo has been looking for you. I raced to his office. The place was a sight. Have no fear, said the chief. everything is all right. My bright backroom boys have been brighter than bright. They thought up a gadget that's newer than new. It's filled with mysterious moo and can blow all those zoos clear to Salamagoo. They've invented the Bitsy Big Boy Bomberoo. You just run to the wall like a nice little man. Drop this bomb on the Zooks just as fast as you can. I have ordered all Ukes to stay safe underground while the Bitsy Big Boy Bomberoo is around. As I raced for the wall with the bomb in my hand, I noticed that every last Uke in our land was obeying our Chief Ukaroo's grim command. They were all bravely marching with banners aflutter down a hole for their country and right side up butter. That's when Grandpa found me. He grabbed me, he said, "You should be down that hole, and you're up here instead. But perhaps this is all for the better somehow. You will see me make history right here, right now." Grandpa leapt up the wall with a weaponless leap, and he cleared his hoarse throat with a bobbleless beep. He screamed, "Here's the end of that terrible town, full of Zooks who eat bread with the butter side down." And at that very instant, we heard a clup clup of feet on the wall, and old Van Itch clubbed up. The boys in his back room had made him one too. In his fist was another Big Boy Bomberoo. "I'll blow you," he yelled, "into pork and wheat beans. I'll butter side up ya to small smithereens." "Grandpa," I shouted, "be careful. Oh gee, who's gonna drop it? Will you or will he?" "Be patient," said Grandpa. "We'll see. We will see." What do you think? Pretty scary, huh? Pretty scary story. Big a Dr. Seuss book, but that was, that was detente. That was mad, mutual assured destruction. So I love the way he can write books that are fun to read, that rhyme, but also have a political and social meaning. It shows how ridiculous it is not to like somebody just because they're different, because they eat their bread with the butter side up or the butter side down. Talks a lot about racism, doesn't it? Yeah. Good. Well, thank you so much. You've been an amazing audience. Miss Liz, Miss Olsen, have wonderful class. Thank you so much. Thanks for singing. That was really fun to sing with you.